Good morning and happy homecoming, Jayhawks. Welcome back to another edition of Good Morning KU Sports. I'm your host, Adeline Rabel, and the crew has another jam-packed show for you all today. On the agenda, we have all things KU basketball and football, along with an MLB playoff update, and talk about the first AP basketball poll of the season. We round things out with NIL and conference realignment updates. Let's get this show on the road.
Thanks, Addie. Kansas football plays against the Houston Cougars at Arrowhead Stadium tomorrow at 2:30. Both Houston and Kansas are coming off a bye week, with the Jayhawks sitting at a 1-5 record overall and 0-3 in Big 12 play, while the Cougars are 2-4 with a 1-2 conference record. Even with both teams struggling to find success, Kansas head coach Lance Leipold has noticed the Cougars beginning to figure things out. Leipold said in a recent press conference, "I see a team that is starting to find how to use their weapons." Injuries for the Jayhawks are a concern coming into this week's game. Kansas star cornerback Kobe Bryant is questionable to play against Houston after suffering a right leg injury in the team's last game against Arizona State. Defensive captain and starting middle linebacker Cornell Wheeler has been out since suffering an injury against West Virginia and is listed as doubtful to play this week. The Jayhawk defense has not been getting many sacks and not forcing opponents into unfavorable yardage situations. With the depth chart on defense dwindling, the offense had its fair share of problems as well. The Jayhawks have struggled with first down production and have been settling for too many field goals when they get into the red zone. The rest of the season's schedule does not get any easier, with 3 of the last 5 opponents being ranked in this week's AP Top 25. This game against Houston marks one of the Jayhawks' best chances at a win for the rest of the season. The team needs to reach 6 wins to qualify for a bowl game, but that would require a 6-0 perfect record the rest of the way. Can Kansas pull off the seemingly impossible, or will defensive injuries, bad play calling, and poor quarterback play be the downfall of the 2024 season? Now we'll go over to Ryan for a preview on KU's saving grace basketball season.
Thanks, Adam. It is no secret that last season was not a vintage Bill Self-coached basketball team. Snake-bitten by key injuries, poor shooting, and little depth, it was a forgettable season for Jayhawk fans. That being said, I have a hunch that this year's team will have a much happier ending to their story. Coach Self retooled the squad with much-needed offensive weapons such as A.J. Storr, Zeke Mayo, and Rylan Griffin, along with being able to retain preseason National Player of the Year Hunter Dickinson and bring in plenty of other guys who will play big roles. The splashes in the transfer portal helped land the Jayhawks their second straight preseason #1 ranking, which of course means absolutely nothing, but it is clear that he is out for blood and San Antonio is the only thing on Bill Self and this team's mind. While March Madness can be a crapshoot, the best way to prepare for the tourney is by playing the best competition possible, which is certainly what this Jayhawk team will be doing with the Murderers Row of a schedule slated for this season. And a majority of the games will be quad one opportunities. March will eventually arrive, but let's look at some of the key games that will have the biggest impact on this team's seed line come March. On November 26th, the Jayhawks will head out to Las Vegas for arguably the biggest non-conference basketball game of the season, for a day with the Duke Blue Devils. The Devils enter the season with a preseason ranking of number 7 and are headlined by Cooper Flagg, who many consider to be a lock for #1 overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft. This Duke team is immensely talented, and a win would go a long way for KU on the resume. This next game is also a non-con clash that will go an extremely long way and would be an absolutely massive win to have in the back pocket when the Jayhawks travel to Omaha in early December to take on an always great Creighton program. The Blue Jays come into the season as a top 15 squad fresh off back-to-back second weekend appearances. Even with the loss of elite guard Baylor Shireman, this Creighton team will still be a tough out as usual. They return Ryan Kalkbrenner, who is the best rim protector in the country, and added Texas Tech guard Pop Isaacs out of the portal. With the struggles that KU had on the road last year, if the Jayhawks can go into a hostile environment against a really good team and bring home a win in their first road game, the tone it will set for this squad cannot be understated, and could even be the difference in a seed line or two. Even though the Cyclones rarely lose at Hilton Coliseum, the game in Ames against Iowa State could not only be a huge resume builder, it is also a key game in the Big 12 race against what will likely be a top 10 team wire to wire. The Cyclones enter the season at number 5 in the nation and return pretty much their whole team from last year, which is not what Big 12 fans want to hear, as the Cyclones wreaked havoc all over the court, especially on the defensive end. Going to Ames and winning is a tall task for any team in the country, so it'll be interesting to see who wins round 1 between these two squads, which I believe is a bigger resume builder for KU. The next two games that will have the biggest impact are not only seed positioning, but the Big 12 race as a whole are both games against reigning Big 12 champ Houston. The Cougars come in ranked number 4, but it could be argued that they're the best team in the country and a bona fide national title contender. As usual, Kelvin Sampson's squad will be a force to be reckoned with as they're stacked once again, returning every key player with the exception of Jamal Shed, which is obviously a big loss. Even though the Jayhawks and Cougs split last season, it was not enough to keep up as the Cougars ran away with the conference title while the road landmines kept piling up for the Jayhawks. Like I alluded to earlier, this year should be different though. The sky's the limit for this reloaded and rejuvenated Kansas team that has all the tools to not only win the Big 12, but hoist up the national championship trophy in San Antonio when it's all said and done. Just gotta take it one game at a time.
Thanks, Ryan. Make sure to come support the men and women's basketball teams tonight at the 40th Annual Late Night in the Fog, starting at 6:30 p.m. After a short break, Zach, Tyler, and Caden are here to give you an MLB playoff update.
You may not hear it at first, but it's there. Our chant, rising. On this summit, callings converge, voices unify into a chorus that sounds out for good, for greatness. Can you hear it?
Welcome back to Good Morning KU Sports, and boys, the Yankees-Guardians game was nuts last night. It was 5-3, Emmanuel Clase on the mound, one of the best closers in baseball. Aaron Judge at the plate with 1 man and 2 outs in the 8th inning. Clase had given up 2 runs in his 74 innings pitched in the regular season. And last night, Judge was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts going into this at-bat. And well, Judge took a 99-mile-an-hour cutter on the outside corner, took Clase deep the other way, 3-3 ball game. And to make matters worse for Clase and the Guardians, back-to-back home runs with Judge and Stanton. What an 8th inning.
Yankees go up 5-3 in the 9th, and the Guardians were down to their last strike. They had a 1.4% chance to win this ball game. Lane Thomas hit a 2-out double, and then John Kinsey ties it in the bottom of the 9th. Fast forward to the bottom of the 10th, runner on 3rd and 2 outs, David Fry calls game. What a win for the Guardians. What do you think of the game, Tyler, and where do you see this series going?
Well, I had no hope for the Guardians going into last night. I was thinking either they might win one game, they might sneak one in Cleveland, but after that, I think there's a chance they could even up the series tonight. Zach, what do you think?
Yeah, so on a couple segments ago on our show, I did pick the Guardians to win the World Series, and at first that wasn't looking great, but I think a walk-off is huge for momentum. I think they can carry over that momentum into today and hopefully tie the series up, and who knows, maybe Cleveland will take it. I've got Cleveland going to the World Series.
And he has rode that pick the entire way.
Yes, I have.
Yes, it's Luis Gil for the Yankees and Gavin Williams for the Guardians. That game is at 7:08 tonight on Fox Sports 1. But before that, the Dodgers are playing in New York for Game 5. Zach, what happened last night?
Yeah, so Dodgers starter Yoshinobu Yamamoto was pretty solid, pitching 4 1/3 innings and striking out 8. However, he did allow 2 runs, but those runs proved not to matter. Mets starter Jose Quintana entered the game with a 0 ERA this postseason, but it's safe to say that did not last, as Shohei Ohtani crushed a leadoff home run to get things started off. But not long after, Mark Vientos went deep to tie things up. The momentum, however, changed not long after. And Dodgers first baseman and number 3 hitter Freddie Freeman didn't play last night, but the offense did not suffer. Mookie Betts went 4 for 6 with a home run and 4 RBIs, and third baseman Max Muncy set a postseason record by getting on base for his 12th straight at-bat. The Dodgers continued to lay it on the Mets bullpen, and they propelled to an easy Game 4 win, putting them 1 game away from the World Series.
And tonight, 7:08, Jack Flaherty for the Dodgers, David Peterson for the Mets. Do you think the Dodgers have to travel back to Los Angeles, or you think they're punching their ticket in the World Series tonight? Caden, go ahead.
I think they punched it tonight. Yep. The Mets have been outscored 27-9 so far in this series. I just don't see them winning this game. The Mets can get hot and as lucky as any team, but I think the last wild card team is out this week. And for MVP, I think I have the Dodgers pitching staff. They've been great. Outside of Game 2, they've been great all season. So.
And I'm going to agree with you. I think the Dodgers do it today. I think the Mets have had a great postseason run, and they've been hot, but their luck has seemingly ran out. The Dodgers have just been so strong, and I think they overpower them tonight. And I think for NLCS MVP, I'm going Mookie Betts. He's had a great series, and I think he'll have another great game tonight.
And I know last round we had a lot of disagreements, but I'm with you guys. I think this game ends at Game 5. The Dodgers look fantastic, and it's really deflating getting crushed the night before and then having to go back in front of your hometown crowd and try to win a ball game. So the last question, we have Game 4 tonight for the Yankees, Game 5 for the Dodgers. Who do we think is in the World Series and who's winning it all? Zach?
Well, I've already kind of said I'm going with the Guardians. So I've got the Guardians taking down the Yankees with an incredible comeback. And then I do have the Dodgers going to the World Series as well. And, you know, maybe I would pick the Dodgers, but since I went with the Guardians that first week, I'm going to stay true to myself and pick the Guardians to win it all.
Yep, I have Yankees Dodgers. What people want to see, it's going to be the best playoff baseball, best team, best players, most superstars. This will be quite a match.
And who do you have winning it all?
I have the Dodgers. Yep.
And Caden, I'm going to have to agree with you again. The Yankees, I believe, will still win. I'm thinking probably 6 games. And the Dodgers, I already mentioned earlier. But the Dodgers will beat the Yankees in 6 games. That is my prediction, and that is all we have for you for this segment. After the break, Jack will be talking about the AP Top 25 basketball poll.
Here we see an ordinary man on an ordinary day, when suddenly, trash appears. What would you do if you were in his shoes? Would you be a bad citizen and simply ignore the trash? Or would you be a good citizen and pick the trash up? Here we see a trash can, a good citizen's greatest weapon. A good citizen will see litter, pick it up, and throw it away. Become a good citizen today.
Basketball season is right around the corner. The first AP poll of the season was released on Monday, and the Kansas Jayhawks were at the top of the poll for the second straight season. Kansas is ahead of recent SEC powerhouse Alabama, who reached the Final Four last year, and even back-to-back national champions UConn, who sit at 3. Kansas is not the only team from the Big 12 in the top 25. Houston, Iowa State, Baylor, and Arizona all find themselves inside the top 10, while Cincinnati sits at number 20, marking the 6th Big 12 team ranked inside the AP preseason top 25 poll. In terms of total teams, the SEC leads the pack with 9 teams inside the top 25. Having 15 teams inside the top 25 is pretty impressive for the 2 conferences most people consider the best in the country. Duke, North Carolina, and Kentucky highlight the other Blue Bloods who snuck into the preseason rankings. Duke is led by potential number 1 pick, freshman forward Cooper Flagg, while North Carolina has a more experienced leader in graduate guard RJ Davis. It will be interesting to see how these teams battle it out in the very open ACC conference. After Coach Calipari's decision to leave Kentucky for Arkansas last offseason, Mark Pope took the reins as the head coach in Lexington. Pope was most recently the head coach for the BYU Cougars before leaving for Kentucky, the school he formerly played for. College basketball will be just as competitive as ever, but the Blue Bloods will look a little different this season. Even though Kansas fans are optimistic about this year's team and preseason hype, it might not be all it is made out to be. In Bill Self's 20-plus year tenure at Kansas, the Jayhawks have been preseason ranked number 1 on 4 different occasions. In those 4 seasons, Kansas has yet to make it past the second round each time. Hopefully the Jayhawks can break that curse this year. Basketball season gets underway tonight at the 40th edition of Late Night at the Phog. The action starts at 6:30 p.m. with the scrimmages being streamed on ESPN+, KUathletics.com, and through the Kansas Jayhawks Facebook page if you can't catch the action in person. Now, I will send it over to Ulicia to talk about some new updates in the world of NIL and conference realignment.
Thanks, Jack. Just a few days ago, Wake County Judge Graham Shirley ruled in favor of public school athletes in North Carolina to earn money off their name, image, and likeness. The family of Faison Brandon, a class of 2026 5-star recruit, sued the State and Board of Education in response to losing great amounts of potential NIL money. North Carolina's private schools were granted an access to NIL monetization earlier this year, with an immediate ruling from Judge Shirley on Monday where public school athletes will follow. High school NIL is a new emergence that can vary from state to state. North Carolina joins the majority of the United States, allowing high school NIL to be permissible. However, select states such as Alabama and Mississippi are confirmed to be NIL prohibited, whereas states Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, and Wisconsin are the 4 states currently under consideration. In conference realignment news, the Pac-12 is currently in trouble as they struggle to adopt one more school in order to meet NCAA conference requirements. The Pac-12 has been dipping into Mountain West Conference schools such as Boise State, Colorado State, and San Diego State. However, all other Mountain West schools have agreed to stay with their conference, putting the Pac-12 in a struggling position to add another school that would make sense. It'll be interesting to keep up with the Pac-12 during the next few weeks, but until then, stick around till after the break for Weather with Olivia.
National champions deserve a clean campus. Don't wait for other Jayhawks to pick up your mess. Keep the University of Kansas clean.
Welcome back. We're going to now be talking about the weather going on. If you were outside this morning, it's definitely been a little bit chillier. We're finally starting to see some of those fall temperatures happening. This is a current live view of West Topeka, actually. As you can see, there are no clouds in the sky. This has kind of been the trend that we've seen over the past week or so. There's really been no clouds, very sunny skies. That's just been the weather pattern that we've been having. Outside in Lawrence, though, currently the temperatures are 56 degrees and sunny. The winds are about 13 miles an hour, but it is starting to get a bit gusty today. We're expecting some higher wind gusts throughout the afternoon, but for right now, it's not too bad as you're walking around campus. And looking at the satellite view, as you can see, there's a lot of clouds out here in western Kansas. This is associated with some storms that will be pushing off more towards the northeast, up in Nebraska, South Dakota, and Iowa. We shouldn't be seeing any of those impacts. For us, it'll be relatively clear skies throughout the entire day. Looking at the forecast, our high is around 75 degrees today, and as you can see, we are expecting those wind gusts up to about 30 miles per hour. So it will be quite windy in the later afternoon hours, but that shouldn't be too much of an impact. Weather-wise, we should be relatively fine. Now, if you're looking to go to late night in the fog tonight, this is kind of a little bit of a planner that you're looking at. If you're going to go to some of those outdoor activities, we're looking at about 74, 75 degrees for those. But the temperatures are going to drop off pretty quickly this evening. If you're leaving the concert around 10 p.m., temperatures are going to be around 55 degrees. So it might be a little bit chilly as you're leaving, so beware of that whenever you're heading out to your cars. And the winds are going to decrease throughout the night. Now, tonight's forecast, we're looking at a low of about 43 degrees, and it'll be mostly clear skies, and once again, those winds are going to be relatively calm. Now, we have a home football game this weekend. This is the homecoming game versus Houston, and it is a beautiful football game to go to. If you are waiting for that fall weather day to go, this is the game to go to. So for pregame, we're looking around 67 degrees for your temperature, and then kickoff, we're looking at about 75, and those temperatures are going to last throughout the entire game. Winds will be relatively minor, so no worries about the wind affecting any part of the game, and it'll just be a great day for football. As for other sporting concerns, our really only issue with weather is the women's golf tournament that's actually in the Bahamas right now. They might have a chance of showers and storms today and tomorrow, but it should be better on Sunday. Otherwise, we're looking at relatively sunny skies throughout the rest of the sports. For men's golf in Mississippi, they're looking at about low 80s temperature, which is great for golf. For women's rowing, we're looking about highs near 70. And for women's volleyball later on in Florida tomorrow, looking at about a high of 81 degrees. So overall, great weather for all of our sporting events happening. And taking a look at our 7-day forecast, we're really expecting to stay right around those upper to mid 70s throughout the weekend. And then we are finally going to have our first chance for rain in over 3 weeks on Monday. We're expecting some scattered showers, probably about a 60% chance for that. And that's going to help cool down temperatures as well, but that's not going to last. We're going to be shooting right back up to the upper 70s and 80s for Tuesday and Wednesday. And then we might see a little bit of a cool down then on Thursday. And we'll see if that trend stays throughout the end of next week. Back to you, Addie.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Make sure to tune back in next Friday for more sports news and catch Playmakers live at 12 today from Allen Fieldhouse for late night in the fog action. Have an amazing weekend, and as always, rock chalk.